Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. The fourth iteration of the Smash series has gone on to quickly become the favorite in the franchise amongst the majority of the fanbase, myself included. With the game being out for at least 4 months on both consoles, a lot of people have sat down and determined the best characters in the game and the worst. While I feel there's no such thing as a true bad character in Smash 4, as all have their own strengths and weaknesses that makes them worth using in at least some way, except for Lucina, there's at least one character that has continuously been the butt of a joke ever since the first 3DS version released. I am namely talking about the King of Dreamland himself, King Dedede. King Dedede has been considered one of the game's worst characters, often being used as the butt of a joke in regards to tiers, in the form of Dedede Top Tier, and more. However, while Dedede is indeed not one of the game's top characters, he has more than enough tools to make him more than competitively worthy if you fully take advantage of everything Dedede has to offer. Which, if you read the title of the video, and you obviously did as you clicked on it yourself, I'm going to give you a full guide on the Penguin King, and prove to you that Dedede has what it takes to be a competitive character that can even best the likes of Diddy Kong. Playing Dedede is a bit different than your typical heavyweight like Bowser or Ganondorf. For while King Dedede is meant to do tons of damage and take it just as much, King Dedede has a useful tool that Bowser and Ganondorf don't, which is versatility. King Dedede's reach and recovery skills are cut above the other heavyweights in Smash, which comes at the price of a bit less KO power, except for one attack, his being his side smash. Regarded as the most powerful Smash attack in all of Smash, only being outdone in KO potential by Little Mac's own KO punch and Ganondorf's reverse Warlock punch. With this balance in range, power, and recovery skills, Dedede is one of the hardest characters to KO in all of Smash. It is usually best to play a defensive style the majority of the time when playing this King Dedede, but if your opponent gives you an opportunity, do not be afraid to pressure them with his powerful attacks from a safe gap. Like his fighting style, a lot of Dedede's attacks come off as rather slow and sluggish, and are seen as rather useless moves in an actual fight. While there are some that are considered moves you should never use, we'll go over that later. For now, let's start by discussing the basic best moves you should use when playing Dedede. The first move to always keep in your arsenal as Dedede is your neutral air. This powerful aerial does 12% and hits on both sides of you, but it can be used in more ways than just a powerful aerial. If you use this move in fast fall, the hitbox will stay on Dedede until he hits the ground, which means that it's a good move for getting the job on the opponent, as this move, in a game where a majority of moves have an increased cooldown time, has little to no cooldown at all once you hit the ground with his attack. If you fall on the opponent at low percentages, you can grab them almost instantly and toss them back into the air for more follow-ups. If your opponent manages to either dodge or shield the fast fall, instantly transitioning into a down tilt or forward tilt is a really good tactic, or even another grab, or better yet, a down smash if you can time your C-tilt right. Neutral air is not the only short hop aerial that Dedede can take advantage of, the second offensive option being his forward air. This attack is fast and does a good chunk of damage, and has a good amount of range to keep a bit of a safety ball between Dedede and his opponent if they manage to dodge or shield the attack. The third option being his backward aerial, that travels in a large arc of distance rather fast, and hits for more damage than the neutral or forward air, at the cost of taking slightly longer to come out and slightly longer cooldown. To use effectively, take advantage of the quick direction change. When you're about to form a jump, quickly tap the control stick in the direction opposite the way you're facing and jump. This almost instantaneous technique allows for you to take advantage of the character's back aerial when you normally use their forward aerial, which usually has some more knockback power than that of the character's forward aerial. If the opponent is vicious and tries to stay close to Dedede the entire time, the best tool you can use to keep space between you and your opponent is Dedede's side tilt, a rapid hitting attack that does a good amount of damage and pushes the opponent a good distance away from you. Another useful move in Dedede's arsenal of basic attacks, aside from his very fast down smash and very fast up smash, his up smash even hitting on both sides of him, is the twirling roll, his down tilt, or as I like to call it, the troll. The troll is named that because this move has an effective ability to be better than most people expect it to be, and in turn piss them off. If at low damage, you can actually perform this attack twice in a row, and while it covers a good amount of range and distance for down tilts, its attack's cooldown time is very minimal, allowing for you to follow up the attack with another roll or a down smash to knock back the opponent that most likely would have rushed back to deal in the counterattack. The down tilt is a little odd, however, for if you're right next to certain characters when you use this move, the move will not actually hurt them, and you'll only just push them along with your roll. Dedede's most effective basic tools is his up aerial, which is a spinning pop attack, which is on Smash 4 has been considered some of the game's best aerial attacks, if not the best. From Smash 64 to Brawl, all upper aerials that hit multiple times simply racked up damage and did nothing more, being considered the most useless moves as up aerials are usually designed to be a finishing attack if your opponent is too far up in the air. However, in Smash 4, all of these attacks have been given an ending pop to knock opponents away, making them incredibly useful finishing moves, and since this is Dedede, it doesn't take much to rack up damage for the finishing blow. Also, if you're feeling a bit bold, Dedede has a decently fast meteor smash you can take advantage of with his down air. While not the best slammer, this attack is also useful for punishing people trying to get back onto the stage via the ledge, and you can easily Matador them into an easy KO if you time it right. Now that you're aware of the most basic tools of King Dedede, let's move into something more advanced, namely learning how to use one of King Dedede's most useful attacks, the Gordo Toss. When it comes to a big character like Dedede, you don't want to keep your opponent too close for very long, especially since this is a character with, debatably, the largest frame in Super Smash Bros. 4. If you let them stay close for too long, you will be abused, and easily comboed, if you will just allow your opponent to do whatever they want. However, going hand in hand with his versatility, Dedede has some rather nice spacing tools that can help prevent this problem. The first is his side special, the Gordo Toss. The Gordo Toss is King Dedede's new side special, replacing his original Wild D Toss in Brawl. While the Wild D Toss was originally a move with only a chance of being useful, the Gordo Toss is a move that can be useful with every use, if you use it properly. However, while this move is very good at what it does, this move is considered a rather weak projectile move by a good number of people. However, it is in my opinion that many people have been using this move completely wrong. To make a comparison to another game I know a lot about, the Gordo Toss is like that of the Spy's Revolver from Team Fortress 2. They're very effective weapons, but they're not made to spam, otherwise they will be incredibly ineffective in combat. To use the Gordo Toss, you shouldn't entirely use it as a projectile, but as a trap weapon built for setting up some rather mean follow-up attacks. The first thing to remember is that the Gordo Toss is like Snake's grenades from Brawl. They have different ways of being thrown. By simply using side B, you'll toss the Gordo on a straight path. Performing the move like a smash attack will speed up the Gordo. Holding down when you toss it will cause the Gordo to bounce higher into the air, but still go forward with less range. However, by holding up, the Gordo will bounce high into the air with little to no range at all, being an effective weapon in many different scenarios. Now that you know the basics of this attack, it's time to show you and explain how to effectively use it in combat. The most useful form of the Gordo Toss is the light variant, which is the high bouncing, no range version of the attack. But since this is about perfecting the Gordo Toss in its entirety, I will go over all forms of the attack. The first is the standard straight toss, and is easily the most countered version of said attack. Unless you're talented with judgment and timing, it's recommended to avoid using this form as much as possible. However, there are a few options that can be viable for this attack for all players, so here they are. The forward toss is one of the main ways the Dedede player can make up for Dedede's slow movement and ability to pursue a flung or escaping opponent, namely at higher speed so they have less time to react to recover. Once used, it's recommended that you move into the air immediately, as traveling by air after a Gordo Toss is one of the safest ways to avoid it if it manages to get sent back in your direction. However, another tool that many don't take advantage of, which is very strange as it's usually a mandatory tool that's usually talked about when using this attack, is that if the Gordo does get sent back at you, simply tap the A button to catch the Gordo and toss it right back at your opponent. The timing in this attack is decently crucial, and sometimes more novice players will need to practice a lot in order to actually master it. Once you learn it, it may be the mark between life and death in a match. The down tilt Gordo Toss is the most useless form of the Gordo Toss, as it does nothing that neither the forward toss or the light toss can do better. The most useful way to do a down Gordo Toss is as a way to throw off your opponent's game after you've used the Gordo Toss multiple times, and in turn force them to come closer towards you if they have no projectiles. Also, the slowing moving Gordo is much easier to catch in return if your opponent tries playing a range game to knock the Gordo back towards you with a projectile. The up tilt Gordo Toss is purely made to be that of a trap weapon, and can be used in some pretty nasty ways. The first way to effectively use the Gordo Toss is as a defensive wall when on the attack. Tossing the Gordo into the air when pursuing an opponent will give you a bit of a safety window. If your opponent doesn't have projectiles to counter, they have to make a very decisive choice when trying to attack Dedede in this state. They can do one of two things, and both of which do not turn in their favor. The first option is to try and hit the Goro into Dedede at close range, which can be effective if the Dedede player doesn't react fast enough. However, since this is what the Dedede player will expect more than often, they will more than likely dodge it and punch the opponent with his powerful aerial attacks. The second option is to avoid the Goro and go straight for Dedede, which is the tactic that works more often, but not by much. Since Dedede's frame is large, it wouldn't take much effort to put him down if you get the attack in first, but the fact that the Goro may cancel your attack is always a looming issue, and Dedede can always shield your attack and let you take the Goro's damage. So all in all, your opponent should never get close to you when you're pushing forward like this, so if they are, punish them in a Dedede-disgusting format. The third option is using the Goro toss as Dedede's greatest edgeguarding weapon. By performing a high bounce near the ledge, the Goro will force the opponent to either try to avoid it or knock it out of the air with a recovery move. Both can work in Dedede's favor if he takes advantage of the situation. If the opponent cannot knock the Goro out of the air and is hit by the recovery, Dedede can perform one of his aerials to get his opponents into an almost guaranteed KO at higher percentages. But if they dodge the Goro or hit it away, you can still take advantage of the situation, but you need to act quick. If you're fighting an opponent whose recovery leaves them in a helpless state after they use it, try using an attack that's almost useless in a lot of other situations: the Jet Hammer. The Jet Hammer's raw KO power is incredibly powerful at full charge, and being able to jump and move allows for Dedede to pursue an opponent that may try and move away from Dedede as they fall to the ground. Dedede's grab game has definitely seen a large step back from what it was in Brawl, and that's easily for the better, as Dedede used to be one of the greatest abusers of an ability known as chain grabbing, or namely, catching your opponent in grabs right after the first grab is done over and over again. Dedede and the Ice Climbers were a few of the most notorious characters to abuse this ability. While Dedede doesn't have this mechanic in his repertoire anymore, his grab game is far from being anywhere near awful. His grabs are all decently powerful in terms of damage and knockback, although they seemingly lack a bit of KO power. Front throw and back throw are mainly used to try and set your opponent up for an edge guard, while up throw and down throw are more meant to be used for follow-up potential. Down throw is easily Dedede's most useful throw, as it has the most follow-up options, while the up throw only really has one. At low percentages, you can perform a down throw into a neutral air or forward air. By higher percentages, you can possibly land the killing blow with an up air. With the up throw, you can usually land an up air at low to mid percentages. King Dedede, for as strong and versatile a character he is, definitely has some things in his moveset that should never be used either often or consistently. While most characters usually have a moveset that ranges between very safe and reliable to only semi-reliable, Dedede's moveset is a complete and total influx. Most of his techniques are incredibly strong and useful, but some are just god-awful. This next part is to describe the more useless tactics of Dedede, and things you should try to avoid when playing as him. Don't use the dash attack and forward smash unless under very special circumstances. While both are incredibly powerful attacks that can kill at rather low percentages, these two attacks are the worst attacks in Dedede's arsenal by far. The dash attack's startup animation is very slow and easy to see coming, as well as its very long cooldown. If your opponent sees it coming, there's no way you're going to escape without damage. The best time to use the dash attack is when you can predict a back roll on your opponent, especially if they're close to the ledge. This attack can kill Bowser, the heaviest character in the game, at around 77%, so most characters won't be living through this attack late in the match. The forward smash is a little more useful than that of the dash attack, but not by much. While the dash attack only has one real use, the forward smash has two. The first is outreading your opponent when they predict a roll and punishing them for it, as they will most likely be caught in their attack animation and actually not be able to move out of the way of the powerful hammer. The second is an edgeguard tool, albeit the worst edgeguard tool Dedede has. If you can outpredict an opponent's movement speed and timing on the edge, and this attack is going to almost definitely KO them at rather low percentages. That, and if you actually do manage to land the kill on them, it feels so damn satisfying. Don't use the Super Dedede jump to get onto the stage unless absolutely necessary. The Super Dedede jump, while it can definitely punish if it catches people off guard, is easily one of the riskiest recoveries in all of Smash. If you land on the stage and your opponent dodges the attack, you're basically leaving yourself wide open for a beating. Or better yet, if they have a counter, Dedede is almost a guaranteed goner if it connects. If you can, try and grab the ledge with a Super Dedede jump, but try grabbing it before the apex of the jump, or Dedede will just go careening into the abyss. Don't use the jet hammer as an offensive weapon. While it has its limited uses, it's very clear from a design standpoint that a jet hammer has been made to be that of a defensive weapon and a defensive weapon solely. If you try to fight opponents head-on with this weapon, you're only asking to be punished. These are but a few things that a Dedede player shouldn't do in any serious situation. However, if you're only looking to have fun, then by all means, do whichever you want. Next is the final chapter of this video, which is namely going to go over some of Dedede's more advanced techniques. Being a heavyweight, Dedede doesn't have a lot of options in the way of pulling off smart and sneaky moves. However, his versatile arsenal of attacks is definitely good for something, as Dedede has a few tactics that, while very hard to pull off in their own right, are quite useful if you can master them. Most of these techniques involve the Gordo toss and some very key timings, so they aren't the most useful in an overall fight. If anything, it's just you trying to be fancy, and since it's all in good fun, there's no real problem in that. The first technique includes the Gordo, to rack up extra damage on your throws. By tossing the Gordo lightly in front of you and grabbing your opponent when their Gordo is about to bounce overhead, the Gordo will inflict more damage to your opponent mid-throw without breaking the throw animation. However, if done too early, it will break the animation. Trying to master this and use it in actual fights is super fun, so I can recommend it to anyone. The second ability is what I like to call the pinball effect. It is a more realistic ability that can be used in an actual fight. Simply toss a light varying Gordo behind you and try to throw your opponent into it, doing some decent damage and sometimes even following up with an up air after the Gordo hits at light percentages. The third and final ability is something that few other characters can do as well, although as of recently, Link lost his ability to do this. King Dedede's two main jabs can either be comboed over and over again, or linked into other attacks. Since the first tactic is rather cheap and very difficult to maintain in an online environment, I suggest to avoid it. For follow-ups, however, you can link King Dedede's basic jabs into a forward tilt, up tilt, down smash, almost everything in his repertoire. Try not to follow up right away though, or you'll just perform the spinning hammer attack to finish up the combo. Also, if your opponent blocks the two main hammer swings, you can simply cancel out of the second swing into a grab and punish them for it. That has been King Dedede in a nutshell. He's got some pretty strong tools to keep up with other characters in the game, but he falls short of being amazing by having some really lackluster abilities mixed into his repertoire. In terms of overall comparison to the roster, Dedede is definitely a low mid-tier character at best, but buffs in the future may change that for the better. Thank you all so much for watching my first real video on Hammerspace. I've been playing on this video for a while now, and I must say I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. If this video comes out well, I'll be more than happy to turn this into a full-blown series. What are some characters some people say are below the competitive quota, but you think have some potential? Let me know in the comments section. Also, be sure to subscribe for more amazing content in Hammerspace, and be sure to visit our main website at hammerspace.co. Links will be in the description. I have been FeliciaFan444, and I thank you so much for watching.